Welcome everyone to our Division 1 match of the round for round 3 between Oliver King at the top of the screen and Dylan Magika at the bottom, Dylan being the recorder. Our first time featuring Oliver on camera for Season 8. And it looks like he starts out with a Legion's Landing just to get the 1-1 Vampire with lifelink. You can see Oliver there, he's captured 4 format titles over all 3 formats, so he's shown himself to be proficient over all of them. I'm not sure if he has one that he particularly favours. Another interesting fact, he started in Season 2, so he's played every season except one, and he's never finished outside the top 3 of Division 1. Finally, his nickname is the End Boss, because if you're going to win the tournaments, if you're going to win any titles in this league, you have to get through Oliver. Dylan, of course, a regular on our features here, two-time standard format champion, that's what we're watching at the moment. He's our longest contributing Patreon, along with, I think, Felix Stenitzer, and he's the brains that sort of keeps things running behind the scenes. He maintains the group server. Here's a venerated Loxodon, so he's going to put 1-1 counters. We're looking at Dylan's hand, so we know what he's on, obviously. He played me, I think, week 2 with this deck and beat me. It's kind of does its own thing until he goes bang, and then he just kills you with either Expansion Explosion. I think the other card, here's a Tithe Taker, a new one. This is like a poor man's, what's her name? I forget the name, but she's a 2-mana white that's featured in Legacy and Modern. Spells on your turn cost 1 extra. And here's a History of Benali. We all know that card pretty well. So yeah, Tithe Taker, oh, it's really bugging me now. I can't think what the name is. I'm going to have to look this one up. But, oh, sorry, Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Tithe Taker is the poor man's Thalia, because it only effects on your turn and not on the opponent's turn. As I was saying, Dylan's deck, it kind of does its own thing till it lands one of these, a Wilderness Reclamation, which allows him to untap after each turn. So that the trick he's going for here is he's going to start this loop where he'll float all his mana, untap with Wilderness Reclamation, float it again, and cast a huge explosion from Expansion Explosion. In the meantime, using Nexus of Fate to buy extra turns, which he can also abuse after the trigger for Wilderness Reclamation, and also to just keep hitting ramp. So he doesn't have a lot of interaction, I believe. On Oliver's side, the deal here is just to kind of race and try and beat him before he can do his thing. You can see he's got a Wilderness Reclamation again in hand, so he's going to have 2 triggers this time. So you can see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 lands. Explosion costs 4 just to start, and then it's the X. So he's going to have two triggers, which is going to be 26. So he's going to be able to do 26 damage in 1 turn, which is enough. So you can see he's floating all the mana here. You're going to float it again. He doesn't have I don't think he has enough to win at this turn. We'll check. He might just be going for the huge draw. I mean, either way, he's going to draw a ton of cards as well as do all that damage. Expansion Explosion is an awesome card. And here we go again. We're going to float a little bit more, but you can see on Oliver's side, he does have the blue splash. So this is like an Azorious aggro deck. For Oliver, it's kind of like his thing these days. He tends to favour mono white, particularly in Legacy. We'll see that later on. And it looks like he's also favouring it here as well. So he's going to play the Nexus of Fate. So this is like Oliver's probably gone to get a drink or something now. This one's pretty much done. And Guildmage is going to draw him extra cards to help him find the lands that he needs. Find the cards that he needs. So you can see here, he's got his Nexus of Fate. And he's going to do this all again. Float all this ton of mana. One thing I don't know if Oliver has it or not, but he can bring in Ixalan's Binding. I don't believe Yeah, so I forgot to put the point in there. Sorry about that, but this is game 2. Felix had seen Oliver. I keep calling him Felix. I don't know why. Oliver had seen enough. I don't know if he's got Ixalan's binding, but that would shut this deck down big time. Just checking on the Tithe Taker. We checked it before. It's not a big deal here in this particular matchup if you're not doing anything on your opponent's turn. He's got a second Tithe Taker now. He's got a Relentless Bodyguard, so Oliver's building up a decent deck state here. Again, the whole gist of this is he's got a race before Dylan can do his thing, but again, his Gatebreaker. This is just a 2-2, but he gets huge depending on how many gates. So you'd play him in this deck that has a ton of gates. So you can see he's a 4-4. Every time there's a gate play that adds to that. And he gets Trample and Vigilance as well. So that thing's a monster. I think Dylan would have liked another gate here instead of that forest, so he could play Guild Summit and draw a card. I think he's going to go for Hydroid Crassus. I'm not going to feature this because surely you know what this card is in the new standard. I am keen to see what sort of tech Oliver has brought in from the sideboard to try and combat this. Because you can see now his army of go-wides is pretty outclassed already. And there's Gates Ablaze, that's the... Gates Ablaze is the new sweeper that his deck has access to as well. And you can see Archway Angel, we're going to have a look at that later when he plays it. Here's another ramp spell. Yeah, so Dylan's deck just absolutely does not lose to the aggressive mono-red burn style decks. You can see that Gatebreaker Ram now is up to an 8 power. Oliver's seen enough. He's decided if I'm going to win this one, I've got to just go wide. He can trade with the Crassus here. And we see Afterlife being very handy. Plaza of Harmony is going to gain some life. Archway Angel is going to gain a ton of life. We'll bring that up. So he gets 2 life for each gate he controls, but Oliver does have a disdainful stroke because he realizes this match is over if he's able to resolve that. But Gates Ablaze is just going to wipe his board. You can see Oliver's out of cards now. Just takes down the bodyguard first. So no more protection. Adonto Vanguard can survive if he chooses from the Gates Ablaze. Deputy of Detention is going to allow a swing here. Going to put Dylan down to 7, but he is going to gain life from the Archway Angel. And here's Gates Ablaze, does X damage to every creature for the number of gates he controls. He's got a ton of gates, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 damage to each creature. And Afterlife being very handy there, but here's Archway Angel going to gain him the life back to 19, so Oliver's right back to the start and getting nowhere. Here comes Gatebreaker Ram, so the pressure is on now, and this is starting to look pretty ominous. He's down to 6, so actually Expansion Explosion will finish the job, and so it looks like Dylan is going to take Standard 2 games to 0 in this much anticipated matchup.